Marcus Grubb, who's the Managing Director of Investment Research for the World Gold Council. Hi, Marcus.
Morning.
Wow, what a year it's been. What a month it's been for the price of gold. Digging deeper, though, consumer demand, which includes jewellery demand, demand for coins, demand for bars, it's holding up strong.
Yes.
It's investor demand that's pushed demand lower, overall demand in the first quarter.
Absolutely. I mean, what you've seen is a negative positioning in the futures market since the start of the year, and this has then affected the ETF market, where you've seen redemptions in ETF funds through the first quarter, as you rightly said, about a loss of 177 tons. And we had the price fall also in April, around the middle of April, after these figures came out. And what that has done is trigger a huge consumer demand response around the world. So I think in the short run what has happened is gold has been forced below its equilibrium price, and you're seeing a response by consumers and investors all over the world. But I think the reduction in ETFs has mainly been in the United States, because some investors are becoming more bullish about the prospects for the US economy, and they have shifted assets into US equities.
There's a dichotomy, though, isn't there? Because there's
Yes.
the bullishness about the US economy, but at the same time, consumers and investors are still buying gold, whatever.
Yes, well, the amazing thing is, if you look at the figures for the first quarter and the anecdotal evidence we have for April, this is going to be a good year for gold in terms of tonnage. I mean, China was a fantastic number, India was a fantastic number in Q1. The anecdotal evidence since the fall in price in April is even stronger demand, up to 300% in both countries, at the jewellery level at least, and also in some investment products. You've had announcements of shortages at mints, refineries not being able to create the gold bars and coins fast enough, 2-week waiting lists. So it's a very dichotomous market. You have a bearish position with some Western investors in the futures market, and you have consumers and other investors around the world seeing this as a huge buying opportunity and piling into the market. And I think the other interesting thing is in Q1, although total demand was down 13%, if you add in OTC investment, which is bullion accounts, it was actually about flat on the same level as last year. Now, I suspect that buying was coming from non-US investors who are still more concerned about the state of the world economy than investors are in North America.
Let's talk about the role of central banks in here, because in 2012 we saw what you've described as exceptional purchases by central banks. Has that continued into the start of 2013?
Yes, I would say at the end of the day it has, even though it's a small drop of about 5%. Basically, this is a part of demand where for 15 years central banks were selling every quarter for about 15 years and annually selling about 400 tons. Now this quarter they've bought 109 tons, so we're still on, if they keep going at that rate for the year, probably between 400 and 500 tons of total demand, which would be another record level since the early 1960s. And you saw some new buyers coming in. We had Russia and South Korea, but you also saw some of the Central Asian republics buy for the first time in 10-20 years in Q1, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and also the Ukraine.
And we often talk about the technology demand related to other precious metals and not gold, but there is a considerable contribution coming from that area, isn't there?
There is, and again, it's not growing rapidly, but it's holding up very well, because gold in industrial and technology uses does face a lot of competition from cheaper metals, but those metals are much less efficient as a conductor. So most of the demand now is in technology. So iPads, new tablet PCs, new types of phone use a lot more gold than older devices. On the other side, the dental use of gold is declining, so these two things are offsetting. But basically, you're seeing it come in, again, around 100 tons a quarter, similar to central banks, around 400 to 500 tons a year. As long as it stays at that level, we think that's a very good performance for technology.
I've chatted to you for many years, and each time I try and push you on the price, and I know you can't talk about the price, but we can talk about the trend.
Yes.
And the average gold price in the first quarter was $1,632.
Yes.
It's down 5% on the fourth quarter. It's down 3%. And many are basically pondering and pontificating, is this the end of the gold bull run, the 12-year run of gains we've seen, which is the longest since the 20s?
Absolutely.
What's your assessment?
Well, my assessment is this. I don't think this represents an end to the gold bull market. And I think that's true even if you do have a down year this year. You know, I liken it this way. If you had chosen a good asset manager on fundamentals, they'd had 12 years in a row of top performance beating other asset classes, and they have one down year in 13 years, are you going to fire the manager? I think the answer to that is no. And I'm not saying we will have a down year this year either. It depends. We're down about 14% so far this year from January. However, it all depends how this battle between the negative positioning in futures and the falling of tonnage in the ETFs, which is starting to stop now, and this huge wave of consumer demand all around the world, how that pans out in the rest of the year.
Have you bought yourself a gold shirt yet, Marcus? Do you remember the guy over in India?
We've got the picture.
There was a guy in India who took advantage of the falling price in April to stock up on a new wardrobe.
Wasn't it to impress the ladies?
It was. And it worked by certain accounts anyway.
I remember my first speech in Mumbai, and I was complimented on all my figures and slides and everything else, but one of the gentlemen there, who's a major trader in jewellery, came up to me and said, "Loved your speech, but what you've got to understand in India is that gold is God." Once you understand that,
that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
Okay, Marcus, thank you very much. Excellent. Marcus Grubb, Managing Director of Investment at the World Gold Council.